Hello and welcome to another edition of Ask Ron. I'm Ron. Something a lot of people ask me, and a subject that's come up quite a bit recently, is who has the right to have an opinion about bodybuilders and the sport of bodybuilding. There's a whole new generation of fans out there. There's a whole new generation of journalists, media people, whatever you want to call us. I mean, to me, a journalist is someone who's covering, presidential elections, wars, things like that. But there are guys out there now on YouTube like Louis Marco, Nick Strength and Power, Vegan Gains, several people who have huge audiences. They make these videos and their views are in the many millions. So they've reached millions of people over the course of just a couple years. So you have dinosaurs like myself, and I guess Dave Palumbo, John Romano have had arguments about this on one of Dave's shows recently, that their opinions don't matter, they don't count for various reasons. So let's talk for a minute. Let's try to figure out who deserves to have an opinion about bodybuilders or contest placings or industry happenings, so on and so forth. Because, in the old days, which is when I came up, I started writing for the magazines in 1992. I worked for an ESPN bodybuilding show throughout most of the 90s, and I've been writing for the magazine since 92 pretty steadily. I've had a couple thousand articles published. I don't even know how many, honestly. It's 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. I have no idea. It's a lot, because I used to really crank out the articles, like an article a day. For years I did that. Pretty much that was my average. Really. So, if you talk about that as the gauge or whatever, it's because you wrote for a magazine. For many years that was the only way to get your voice heard, was to write for the magazines, because that's all there was. There was no internet. There was certainly no social media. So you didn't have a voice to comment or make opinions publicly, except in the magazines. And the magazines were pretty selective about who they let write for them, and it was also a case of who you know. I'm not. I never said I was the most talented writer or the greatest writer. I'm not. I'm far from it. But I got in there in the early '90s, and I started writing for Iron Man, and then Muscle Mag, and eventually, Planet Muscle, Testosterone, which became T Nation, and eventually MD. Started with MD in 2001. I've been with them ever since. But that's because that was the only way to get in there, is you had to know somebody. I'm sure there are people that were better writers than me that never got published for whatever reason. And it's just like today, you see there's people that break out on YouTube as singers or whatnot that, 20, 30, 40 years ago, people like that never would have become famous, never would have been discovered. Nobody ever would have known that they were these great singers, because you had to go through this whole gateway process to ever get an audition or have your voice heard by anybody that was in that business. Whereas now people have the power in their own hands to make a video of themselves singing and put it out on YouTube, where millions of people can potentially hear it and do, and that's how a lot of people are being discovered. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I think it's a good thing that so many people have this platform and an avenue to express themselves and their opinions and make cool videos and whatnot. And why does their opinion not matter? Maybe you'll say, well, they never stepped foot on a bodybuilding stage. Peter McGuff is probably my hero in writing. The guy I think is the very best at what he does, and has been for many, many years. God bless the man. I love Peter. Peter's never stepped foot on a bodybuilding stage. The greatest contest reports I've ever read in my life were written by Peter McGuff. He has an eye for physiques, a real knack for describing them and the atmosphere around a contest, and capturing personalities of the athletes. Lonnie Teeper, another guy I really respect and look up to, has written some incredible contest reports over the years. Has amazing insights into physiques. Another guy, anybody with a really great eye for physiques and the ability to translate what you're seeing visually onto the written page, or onto a computer screen in text, or talking about it on a computer screen. That's what really counts. And having an eye for physiques, it's something not everyone has, not everyone can have. You have to look at a lot of physiques. You have to really understand what you're looking at, what makes one physique better than another. And I know that's obviously all opinion, clearly. This is a sport that's judged totally subjectively, based on opinion, but also on a series of criteria that you can put into specific categories. Mass, structure, shape, condition, presentation, symmetry, proportion. You don't have to have necessarily ever stepped on stage and competed yourself. You don't even have to have judged the contests. Those things do help, I do believe. If you've competed a lot and if you've been to a lot of contests, particularly if you've ever had to judge a lot of contests, you do get a really good sense of what type of attributes will spell a winner versus someone who doesn't. And a lot of the people out there that comment on Instagram or whatever, they're uninformed, they're ignorant. I hate to use that word because it sounds negative, but it really just means someone who doesn't know any better. They're uninformed. So, you can have a guy that's got this terrible physique, but he's huge and he's ripped. He looks good in the crab most muscular. And someone will post up that picture and they'll say, this guy got screwed. This guy got 15th place. He should have won. This guy should be a pro. He should be Mr. Olympia. And a lot of times, especially anytime there's a contest and competitors put up their pictures the next day or the next couple days and they didn't win, particularly if that competitor has a strong following on social media, on Facebook and Instagram, you'll get so many comments from people saying, you were screwed, bro. You look so good. The judges must have gotten paid off. The other guys must have had sex with the judges. It's always some ridiculous excuse. And the people making these comments, they just don't know what they're looking at. They don't realize, the guy that they're saying got screwed, he's got no back, or he's got no legs, or he was out of condition, or he's got a big thick waist. They don't get that. They don't have an eye for physiques. A lot of people don't. Most people don't have a really good eye for physiques. They get overly impressed by a couple good body parts, or by veins, which is something that has nothing to do with how well you place. You can have a ton of veins and not even be that lean. I've seen that happen. But, somebody will put up a picture of them doing a crab and there's a million veins, and they'll say, oh, how'd you place? And the guy will say, oh, it wasn't my day. I got 5th place. Oh, you got screwed, bro. You look like the champ to me. Well, you know what? Everyone that's competing at a high level should look pretty damn good by themselves. But contests aren't judged by yourself. You're up there on stage next to other people who have trained really hard and dieted really hard, theoretically. So, to me, the most important factor in whether you have a legitimate right to an opinion on all this is if you have a good eye for physiques. It helps to have gone to a lot of contests, but we have so many ways to see contests now digitally. You can watch live stream videos, you can see all kinds of pictures. You don't necessarily have to be there. Do things look different in person? They do. They actually do. You've heard there's a phrase that goes around, you had to be there, and it's something that a lot of guys take as meaning, well, it's as an excuse for bad placings. They'll just tell people, well, it doesn't matter what the pictures say, you had to be there. But a lot of times things do look different live and in person in front of you, especially if you're seated in the first few rows of a big show, a pro show or a national show, than they do from just looking at pictures, just looking at comparison videos. Especially some of these videos are being shot on someone's iPhone from the 20th row and they're zoomed in, and it's not the greatest way to judge a contest. But that's what really matters is, do you have a good eye for physiques? If you have a good eye for physiques, and I believe these guys like Louis Marco and Nick Miller of Nick Strength and Power and several other people do, they do have a good eye for physiques. They're fans of the sport, so why doesn't their opinion matter? Because they've never been published in a magazine. As Nick said in one of his recent videos that I saw, what does that even mean anymore? I mean, print isn't what it used to be, let's be real. And I say that as someone who spent the vast majority of my career in print. I wish it wasn't so, but you want to reach people now, it's not really, print isn't the way to go. You got to do it through their computers, more so through their phones. Social media, things like YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. These are the ways to really reach people now, because that's everyone's got an iPhone or a Galaxy or whatever, but everyone's got a little smartphone, and that's how they get all their information these days. A lot of people don't even have computers anymore. Crazy, I know. Everything's on their phone. They do literally everything on their phone. So if that's your avenue of reaching the public and getting your opinions out there about any topic in the sport, the industry, talking about a recent contest and the placings, whether you agree or disagree with them, you do have a legitimate opinion, and you have a right to that opinion, and you can certainly, the fact that people are listening to you means that you must have something going for you. You know, you can criticize things all you want, but it's like music. You know, I can listen to something that's a top song on the radio now and think, oh my God, this is garbage. This music is horrible. How can, like the song Gucci Gang, I listen to that and I can't believe that kid's a multi-millionaire for that crappy song. But who am I to say? A lot of people liked it. A lot of people like listening to it, and that's why that particular artist and other artists are making really good money, and they become celebrities overnight. It's because they have something people want, and that's what it all comes down to. Who am I to say what people can and can't like? I'm not. You know, that's none of us are. People like what they like. They'll watch what they want to watch. They'll listen to what they want to listen to, and if people don't like your opinion or don't find it interesting or compelling, don't want to listen to you or watch your videos, then they won't. But these guys like Louie and Nick, they have millions and millions of views. So clearly, they have an audience that wants to hear what they have to say. And they're going to tune in, and they're subscribing to their videos, and they're watching all their videos, and that's it. I mean, who am I to say that because I've been writing for magazines since 1992, before these guys were born, and, you know, who cares? You know, I'm at that point now where I realize the past is the past. You can't keep living in the past. You can't keep resting on your laurels and talking about things you did 10, 15, 20, 25 years ago. It falls on deaf ears, and rightfully so. It doesn't matter what you did in the past. It's great. It's a great thing to have on your resume, and I'm proud of all my accomplishments in the industry and all the things I've done over the years, but it doesn't invalidate the younger guys and the newer guys and what they do. You know, they're legitimate, just like I'm legitimate. They're reaching a huge audience. They're doing something right. So that's been a quick Ask Ron. I just wanted to clarify that because I want to let it be known that I don't think these younger guys and their videos are worthless, or that their opinions don't count and don't matter. They do. They have a right to it. And you know what? I'm glad that they're keeping the sport alive in a different way, because if it was just up to print magazines, and if it was just up to guys my age in their 40s or older, the industry would be dying a very quick death. We need the new generation. We need these new platforms of spreading information and awareness about the athletes, the contests, the things going on in the industry. So thank goodness for these guys and keeping the sport alive and keeping the interest going and getting this next generation interested and involved, because if they weren't, you know, there would be no more bodybuilding. That's all. Didn't really have any good questions, because I didn't ask for any this time. Talk to you later.